we covered the military coup that took place in Bolivia back in November 2019, when Evo Morales was ousted, was removed by the military, and through support of the United States with their Cold War organization known as the OAS, the Organization of American States. So essentially, just to give you a very quick, brief background of what happened, Morales had been running the country for about 13 years, if I'm not mistaken, and there was a referendum on whether presidents should have term limits or not. Okay, the people voted that yes, you should have term limits. However, Morales appealed this at the Supreme Court, and the Bolivian Supreme Court said that nope, there are no term limits, you can run. So he did, and he won. And you had people in this right-wing opposition in Bolivia, and the OAS, the Organization of American States, which is a Cold War era institution based in Washington, D.C., receives most of its funding from Washington, D.C. They made these false allegations that the election results were rigged, okay? Because Morales needed a 10% overhead to avoid a runoff. And they essentially accused him of fraud, and then all of a sudden you had government buildings being burnt down. You had even his sister's house being burnt down. He refused to resign because he had won the election legitimately. In the end, he was forced to flee. He fled to Mexico, and I think now he's in Argentina. And what's really interesting is in December, so this is after the coup, he sat down with Glenn Greenwald, and even back then at the time, he told him straight up that the real reason behind this coup was about Bolivia's resources. Okay, so Bolivia has extraordinary amounts and reserves of lithium. Now, let me just show you this clip very quickly from that interview.
Sino una conspiración externa. Mi delito, mi pecado, ser indio. Y segundo, como movimientos sociales, haber nacionalizado los recursos naturales, quitar las transnacionales, hidrocarburos, tema de minería, pero además de eso, haber reducido la extrema pobreza con programas sociales. ¿Sabe? Detrás del golpe de Estado estaba transnacionales, Estados Unidos, por tema del litio.
Lithium has become incredibly important for electric cars both in China and the US.
Se sabe muy bien, la ciudad de Potosí, un grupo de cívicos empezaron a cuestionar la industrialización del litio. Bajo una licitación pública internacional, se adjudicaron ser socios, algunos prestar servicio, China y Europa mediante Alemania. Ya empezamos la industrialización, ya estamos exportando cloruro de potasio. El próximo año tenemos que inaugurar carbonato de litio que produzca 350.000 toneladas al año. Tenemos plantas pilotos. De este proyecto energético, que es futuro del mundo, que esté fuera de Estados Unidos, no aceptaban que indios, movimientos sociales, obreros, con profesionales, seamos actor en la liberación del pueblo mediante el litio. Ese es nuestro pecado en el fondo, que muchos no comentan. ¿Cómo Estados Unidos puede estar fuera de esta gran industria, sus transnacionales? Y nuestros acuerdos con China, con Europa.
We know that there was no election fraud. This report that was issued by the OAS saying that there were inconsistencies with the results and that Morales had rigged the election is all complete BS. Yet at the time, as expected, all of the mainstream media news outlets in the West framed it as, oh, look, the Bolivian people are standing up for their liberation against the corrupt Morales regime, and he falsified the results of the election. They're illegitimate. The OAS verified this. And oopsie, a few months later, the New York Times admits that, oh, they got it wrong. It turns out that the election wasn't rigged. And, you know, they made some miscalculations when they crunched the numbers. Something I also covered a few months ago, right? a bitter election, accusations of fraud, and now second thoughts. See? Same thing that they did with Iraq. They kept pushing this propaganda that Iraq had WMDs over and over and over again. You know, even Condoleezza Rice writing a piece in there, making the case for war. And then after they've already invaded Iraq and destroyed it, the New York Times are like, oh, oops, yeah, you know, maybe we should have been a bit more vigilant or something, you know, and done our jobs. So it's very important for you to understand what's at play here. These lithium reserves are no joke. 1 week, just 1 week before this coup, turns out Evo Morales had canceled an agreement that Bolivia had made with a German company. All right? Now, this German company is called ACI Systems Alemania. Morales, on November 4th, canceled the December 2018 agreement with Germany's ACISA. After weeks of protests from residents of the Potosi area, the region has 50% to 70% of the world's lithium reserves in the Salar de Uyuni salt flats. And surprise, surprise, among other clients, ACISA provides batteries to Tesla. Tesla's stock rose Monday after the weekend. And it didn't just rise in the immediate aftermath of the coup. Oh no, it's been rising ever since. It's actually risen 600%. 600%. Tesla stock was valued somewhere around $250 a share just before the coup. Now it's around $1,500. And that's no coincidence. That's the global markets reacting to the wonderful imperial news that Elon Musk can now plunder Bolivia's resources. Now, this is a promotional video from Bolivia's state lithium company 1 year before the coup.
La planta industrial de cloruro de potasio es la tercera más grande de la región.
Estamos produciendo.
Yacimientos de litio bolivianos. Industrializamos con dignidad y soberanía.
I mean, this thing is enormous, okay? You can see it from space. These salt flats are absolutely enormous. We're talking about tremendous wealth. And Morales' plan, which has been his policy throughout his tenure, is to redistribute the wealth to the people. So this is from Common Dreams. The nationalization policy of the Morales government and the geographical complexity of Salar de Uyuni chased away several transnational mining firms. Eramé from France and FMC from the US and POSCO from South Korea could not make deals with Bolivia, so now they operate in Argentina. Morales made it clear that any development of the lithium had to be done with Bolivia's Comibol, its national mining company, and YLB, its national lithium company, as equal partners. Meaning, you're not just going to come in here with your multinational, transnational companies and screw over Bolivia and the Bolivian people. Morales' plan from the beginning has been very clear. Transnational, multinational companies are not allowed to come into Bolivia, rip off Bolivia's resources, screw over the Bolivian people, and then keep plundering unconditionally. When corporations realized that they were not going to be able to screw over the country, they went to Argentina, they went to Chile. Not only did these right-wing oligarchs work with the OAS and the United States to get rid of Morales, but on top of it, the interim president, Julian Assange, openly has invited Elon Musk to come to Bolivia and essentially help plunder their resources. The de facto administration of Julian Assange has already announced its plan to invite numerous multinationals into the vast salt flats in Potosi, which holds the precious soft metal. Meanwhile, letter from the coup regime's foreign minister to Elon Musk, dated March 31st, says, quote, any corporation that you or your company can provide to our country will be gratefully welcomed, unquote. So this new interim government, this right-wing regime, which organized a military coup against Morales, is openly, brazenly inviting these disgusting imperialist multinationals to come into Bolivia and plunder their resources. You call that liberation? You call that democracy? Wow. This entire coup, this fascist right-wing coup, has absolutely nothing to do with quote-unquote democracy or doing anything positive for the Bolivian people. And one of the people standing to profit from this is none other than Elon Musk, who owns Tesla, who make electric cars and need a large supply of lithium for their batteries. I want to show you just something that he posted on Twitter. So he says another government stimulus package is not in the best interests of the people, in my opinion, which is funny coming from him after he received tons of money from the government in the form of corporate handouts, but okay. And then Armani tells him, you know what wasn't in the best interest of the people? The US government organizing a coup against Evo Morales in Bolivia so you could obtain the lithium there. And look what he says. We will coup whoever we want, deal with it. I mean, if you needed any more proof that this guy is an imperialist, capitalist son of a bitch, look no further. Not only does his family's wealth come from apartheid, come from these emerald mines in South Africa, but on top of it, he refused to shut down his Tesla factory during the pandemic, risking his workers' lives. And then he's openly admitting now that the coup in Bolivia was so that he could get his hands on the lithium needed for batteries in Tesla cars. Zero shame. Zero shame. Are we surprised? Are we surprised? This has become part of the norm now. They don't even bother hiding it. You know, Trump also brazenly, openly says, "Oh, look, we're in Syria for the oil." Yeah, we're in Syria for the oil. He just openly admits it. And this clown over here, this imperialist pig, openly admitting that Morales was removed so they could get their hands on the lithium. Not even trying to hide it, man. Absolutely disgusting. And it's not the only thing. What do you think is going on in the Congo as well? You ever heard of coltan? They use children to mine that stuff. He has no shame. This guy has absolutely no shame. What is absolutely staggering is the willful ignorance, the denial by a large swath of people that this is real. Like, to them, this is some kind of joke. Like, as if the United States has never intervened and illegally bombed other countries and occupied them with their military in order to steal and plunder their resources. Like the United Fruit Company of Guatemala, or going into Iraq for the oil, which is now controlled by US multinationals. I mean, this is nothing new. What a shameless piece of shit. So I want to show you the response from Evo Morales himself, okay? So what he says, and this is a loosely translated, so you'll forgive me, but he says that Elon Musk, the owner of the largest electric car factory, says regarding the coup in Bolivia that we will coup whoever we want, which is even more proof that the coup was for Bolivia's lithium and 2 massacres for payment. We will always defend our resources. I mean, the treatment, what they did to this dude is absolutely unbelievable. US imperialism knows no bounds. It is absolutely, completely shameless. And once again, it's not new, right? Not just the United Fruit Company or the oil in Iraq. I mean, even Patrice Lumumba in Congo was assassinated. Eisenhower ordered him assassinated because he wanted to bring in Soviet troops. And at the time, during the arms race, during the Cold War, getting your hands on uranium, getting your hands on the necessary ingredients to make nuclear bombs, you would have had Russia and Congo monopolizing that essentially. So it's always about resources, make no mistake. And the same thing when the Egyptian president Abdel Nasser tried to nationalize the Suez Canal, he was attacked by the UK, by Israel, by France. Like, how dare you control your own resources and distribute the wealth among your own people? No, 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 no. We, the Western powers, we gotta come in and take over everything. Make no mistake. When Israel occupies the Golan Heights illegally, it's not just a military strategic point, it's also to get their hands on the oil. It's to get their hands on the water. Even has snow up there. Yeah, they go skiing. They have nice little ski resorts on Syrian land. It's always about the resources. But then they want to come and tell you that it's about democracy. And then they want to come and tell you it's about human rights. And then they want to come and tell you it's about election integrity. It's got zero to do with that. And they're just not even hiding it anymore. It's right there in plain sight. Right there in plain sight, man. That it's totally okay for the United States to back right-wing armed opposition groups, to conduct military coups, overthrow democratically elected presidents, and plunder the resources of other countries in the global south. Because white man said so. Absolutely shameless. This is why you always got to pay attention. This is why you can't trust these opposition groups that spring out of nowhere, whether we're talking about Guaido, or we're talking about Agnes, or we're talking about in Syria. The end result is US military bases and US corporations coming in, being given carte blanche, a blank check, to do whatever they like. Exert a military sphere of influence over the region, plunder the country's resources, and maintain a military occupation. Sounds a lot like colonization, doesn't it? And what's his crime? Morales' crime is being the first indigenous president and trying to redistribute the wealth among the people, their wealth. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.